Welcome to the Short-Term Rental Playmaker Podcast, where we break down what it really takes to win in short-term rentals in today's market. From insider tips and emerging trends to real conversations with top playmakers in the space, this show gives you the tools, strategies, and mindset to build and scale a successful short-term rental business. Now, here's your host, Joe Roney.
Today's episode is brought to you by Savvy STR Agents, the short-term rental real estate experts helping investors find profitable vacation rental properties nationwide. If you're serious about scaling your STR portfolio, Savvy STR Agents should be your first call.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Playmaker Podcast. I am super honored to be here with the man, the legend, short-term rental secrets coach, and one of the best guys that I know in this industry, Michael Dinwiddie. Welcome.
Always good to be here, man. Thank you so much.
Michael, you were on my show in the very beginning. You know, we obviously connected a long time ago through the Bill Face group, then through our mastermind that we did together. So, you know, we've been doing this a long time and loved watching your growth over the last 3 years.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So do you think it's been like a year? When did you start this podcast?
So it's been a year and a half because we're on episode number 101. So, you know, I guess at 52 a year. Well, actually, I'm coming up on 2 years because in a couple episodes, I'll be at 2 full years of doing this podcast.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot has happened since we last talked.
We have. And, you know, for those of you who are listening, some of you guys probably know Michael, some of you don't. But one of the things that I love about what we're going to talk about with Michael today is truly getting into, you know, getting out of the vacation rental burnout, you know, and I talked about this in a podcast recently where a lot of the people that jumped into this space, they're getting into that, you know, it's peak summer, they're burnout, they're tired of guest communication, they're tired of all the issues, they're tired of doing everything themselves. And that's where you come in. So you're going to be helping me with that as we go into this off season and hopefully help a lot of other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, burnout's an interesting word. Yeah. When you start a vacation rental management business, it's almost always out of just love of doing this. Like everyone I've talked to, it's because they got their first rental or they've always loved going to vacation rentals. And it's just so exciting to get and to manage your first 1 or 2 properties. And then once you hit 3 or 4 properties, you start to really feel it. You start to feel all the messages coming in and interrupting your kind of day-to-day life. You start to lose track of all the things that are happening, all the maintenance issues and things like that. And you start to realize that you need help, you need systems and things like that. So that's kind of where I've focused a lot of my time on, is making sure those things are really good in my business, but also helping other people to make sure that those things are good in their business.
What I think is cool is that going back 3 years ago when we first started doing the mastermind meetings, this was your goals from day one, right? I mean, some of us were out there just jumping in head first, just trying to get anything we could to start making some money in co-hosting, picking up any account. And then we were trying to figure out operations later. And you intentionally worked on your operations before you jumped in, right? And, you know, you could look at it both ways. Some people could say, hey, Michael took too long to take the leap to get some business, right? Yep. But at the same time,
partially true.
At the same time, you're also in a position where you are today, being able to take Wednesdays off, being able to be with your family and friends because you intentionally did that from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. And call it laziness or call it genius, but I love working on the things that I love working on, but I hate working on things or doing things that I don't think are adding value or that I don't think are worth my time. And so I've always been, I think it's just like something I was born with, always been intentional about how I spend my time and my energy with what I'm doing. And so I saw another real estate influencer on social media like 2 or 3 years ago, and he had a long-term real estate business and he took off Wednesdays. And so every Wednesday he would do a personal thing or he would do a family thing. He'd go get a massage or he'd go surfing or whatever. And I was just like looked up to that, and I wrote that down as like, I want to take off Wednesdays, you know, sometime in my life. And this summer, honestly, it was just like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided it's time to take off Wednesdays. So I've got 4 kids now. We just had our fourth back in April. And so they're six down to, 0, but we've got a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And so to be able to hang out with them in the middle of the day on a Wednesday has been truly cool, like really, really cool. And my management company could probably be bigger. Like I could probably be growing my software business faster by working on Wednesdays, but um, just to be able to have the ability to do that and to know my guests are still getting responded to, my owners are getting responded to, my cleaners are still showing up on time, like the business is kind of moving forward, and I am like 2 days ago going to a blueberry patch with my kids and spending an hour picking blueberries off and stuffing our faces with blueberries and getting photos and videos. Um, that's what I've been building towards over the last few years. And so that's probably what I'm most excited about in life right now. So I guess we could start there and work our
Yeah.
way backwards with how we got here. But that's
No, I
that's
think
what I'm most
that's
excited about right now.
I think that's huge. So one of the things that you did back in the day, and I want to know what you have in your back pocket today, is you wrote down your goals, you put them on a laminated sheet, and you read them every day, and you kept them with you every day. Obviously, those goals have changed over the years, but are you still doing that same, on what your next goals are?
Uh, yes and no. I don't have one in my pocket right now, but I probably should, because that was so helpful. For there's probably a year where I had like my next big goal written down in a laminated paper in my pocket. So every day I would touch it 3 or 4 times. I'd have to take it out, and sometimes I'd read it, but I would just like know that it's there. Um, and that can be that it just keeps your brain subconsciously focused on it. So that's such a good thing. I definitely still do have like a little vision board here on my wall, and I am talking every single day with people. To now, I'm talking every day with people and about what my future vision is and what my goal is, and building towards it, which I think still accomplishes the goal of keeping what you want to accomplish front and center in your head. Got to get that laminated card back though. That'd be good.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I don't have a laminated card either, but I do have it written down, and it's on my vision board on what my goals are for this year and
Yeah.
beyond. So it's important. A goal is only a dream unless you write it down, right? So you got to know what you're going for. So want to kind of dive into a little bit. Obviously, one of your biggest things into the tech side was Hospitality HQ, and a lot of people were using Monday.com, or they're using all these different things, and you really found a niche in Notion to be able to build templates for short-term rental hosts for yourself that helped you just stay organized, give you templates, give you SOPs and everything to be able to grow your business. So how did that
Yeah.
come about, and how is that part of the business going before we jump into Rental Mine?
Yeah. Um, I'll start with what happened that caused the need for this organization, because I started managing and co-hosting, and I got 3 clients over the course of like a year. It took me a while to get there because I've always been kind of slow and methodical and operational based. Uh, but then I had a conversation with someone who had a boutique hotel, 14 units on the Washington coast, which is kind of in my state. And they asked if I wanted to manage it, and I said yes, and that was enough units to get me out of my W-2 job overnight, and also to scare me into building something sustainable, because I had always heard from mentors like Mike Shogren that a boutique hotel is very similar to running a short-term rental, but you get way more phone calls. People find you on Google a lot more often. They're calling to literally book their stay that night on Google, like from a Google call and stuff like that. And I was just like, I don't want to handle it. I've got kids at home. I sit down to dinner with them every night. Like, I don't want to be getting phone calls at, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And so I knew that I wanted to hire a team to help me handle 24/7 coverage of that. And I also knew that this was going to be a team of Filipino VAs, just because that's what I could afford, and um, So many of them are trained from the time they're teenagers to be able to do customer service calls in the hospitality industry. That's just a big part of their culture. And so I knew I would need to bring them on, and I knew that I would need to train them. I didn't know how many I would need, but I figured it would be a few, like 3 or 4 people that I would have to train all at once, and that they would need to know all of the details for 14 units of a boutique hotel, plus 3 short-term rental properties, plus I had aspirations to grow to double that within a year. And um, I was like, I can't even keep track of all these details. How is someone across the country, like across the world, going to be able to do this?
Yep.
And um, so I knew like I have to get everything documented and really organized. And I had used Notion in the past, and I had tried Monday.com, which was good for tasks, but it wasn't good for information and knowledge. And so I went and I got 3 or 4 different Notion templates and things that I could find online. And I started piecing together the things that I liked about them to make it work for our short-term rental and hotel management company. And just started spending time documenting everything, door codes, um, what type of appliances we had at the properties. Do we allow Amazon packages to be delivered at these properties? Which of these have views? Which of them don't have views? All of the nitty gritty, like weird things about the property. I just started writing it down inside of this Notion structure.
Yep.
And right around that same time, AI, was getting bigger and bigger and easier to use. And Notion rolled out this AI search feature where all of a sudden I just had to click on the little AI assistant and ask it a question. And so I could ask it like, hey, hey, I'm going to be going to this unit today. Do we have any open maintenance tasks at this property? Or I'll be in my car driving to a property and I'll be like, oh shoot, there's a gate at this property. I never can remember the code to get through the gate. So I'll just pull up Notion and I'll type in like, I'm going to this property. Can you get me the address and the gate code for this property? And then, 10 seconds later, it gives it to me because it's just pulling it out of this knowledge base, which I've built. And that's helpful for me, but then I wanted other people to run it as well. And it's more helpful for them to be able to have this structured tool they can ask questions to. Because if they didn't have that, they would be texting or slacking or calling me.
Yep.
And so now I always just tell them, okay, go to Notion first, ask Notion. And if it doesn't have the answer, then you can reach out to me, or now it's to my head of operations, and we'll get you the answer. But then you have to go back into Notion and fill in the answer so that the next time you or someone else on the team has that question, it's just there and it's taken care of for you. So that was kind of the core of how it all started happening, was this cool opportunity, this need for having coverage and having other people run the operations so that I could focus on my life and on growing the business. And then Notion just was a really good tool to do it. And yeah, over the last year, I just started sharing that tool and selling that tool and that system to a lot of other people. And I think we ended up with like 150 people, different operators across the country, using this system to run their knowledge and their kind of project management for their business.
I think it's huge. I mean, it really is, a really awesome tool. You shared the template with me, and we used it in the ways that we could. But for the business at where we were at the time, it wasn't. It didn't make sense on where I was at the moment, but it's making more sense now. And I think this rental mine might be the direction that we go, because one of the things I always talk about is after every peak season, I tell everyone, like, you need to reevaluate. Like, we're coming out of peak season. Reevaluate what worked over the last 3.5, 4 months. What didn't work? What do I need to fix? And that's what my wife and I are doing right now. It's like, okay, next summer, I don't want to have these pain points again. Last summer, I was still doing my own revenue management. I was still doing, certain task management. We fixed those. That was way better this year. But then this year brought in other issues that, we want to work through.
What were 1 or 2 of those issues? What were a couple things that you, Joe, who should not be dealing with some of these issues, was dealing with this year? Give me 1 or 2 examples.
Still messaging the handymen to schedule tasks to get them done, being the person that handles that. and then still handling all the guest communication because I'm still handling all of it. So I'm finally to a point where so I have interviews next week to hire a VA for my 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. time frame. So at 4
Yeah.
p.m. I can put my phone away, right? That's step
Yeah.
number one. I want to get that evening person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine on my Monday through Friday. I'm working 9 to 5. There's not a lot of stuff happening Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I don't need that coverage just yet, but I do want to get my evenings and my weekends back. And so that's my next hire.
Can I ask you some questions
Sure.
to help maybe to help you prepare for this hire? So, um, there's going to be some basics that this new hire needs to know. And do you, I'm just going to call you out. Do you have documented in there the basics about the properties, like your appliances for your properties, so that if the dishwasher breaks, they would be able to troubleshoot or get a replacement for that? Do you have that documented somewhere?
So we do, but not virtually, not digitally, right? So like we have a binder at our house
Okay.
of every single property, and that binder
Okay.
has a picture of every appliance, every serial number, every model number, and every single thing in
Mm.
the property, right? So I can pull out if the cleaner says, I don't know where this is. I can pull out the binder and say, well, it should be in the bottom left-hand drawer on this one is where it's supposed to go because we take a picture of every cabinet, every drawer, everything. My wife's very organized on that. But I don't have it digitally. It's all in a
I've
binder.
talked to a lot of people. You're the first person I've talked to that has a physical binder of it.
Every property
But
has a binder with a picture of every single corner of the house.
cool,
And the
cool. So very
cleaners have that same binder. There's two of them because there's
yeah.
one in the cleaning closet at the property, and then there's one at our
Mm-hmm.
house. So the cleaners, if we were to fire a cleaner today and a new cleaner came in and we couldn't teach them what it's supposed to look like, they can literally go to the binder and say, oh, this is what the bed is supposed to look like. This is where
Yep.
this pillow goes. This is where this throw blanket goes. Every house has that.
Yeah. And today you're answering the guest inquiries. So a guest reaches out and they say, hey, we know this property sleeps 10. We have another property down the road, and we are going to have a lot of families staying there. Is it cool if that family comes over during the day to this property? You probably know your policy, because that's a policy question. You probably know your policy answer to that.
Yep.
It could be one of it might be really strict, might be really lenient, or somewhere in between. But whoever you hire to take over guest messaging, they're not going to know how to answer that question.
Yep.
So you'll need to have that sometime in the next, couple months as you're preparing for this hire. You'll probably need to document that, or you'll just literally train them on it. But then that recording or that transcript, I recommend you get that documented so that they now have that answer because they're going to forget it. So then they have the answer for the next time that inquiry comes in.
Yep.
So there's just so many policies and questions and details that we need to capture, and our human brains just don't have the capacity to hold it all. And
Yep.
even if they did, a VA in the Philippines that you hire isn't going to have access to your brain unless they talk to you and take your time.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm always like harping on people and encouraging them. You've got to get it documented and in a system that's really easy to find it. And so that's tools like Notion can help you with that, or Rental Mind, which is the new software that I'm building, is designed to help get that out of your head so that other people can run your business for you.
Yep, and that's my off-season goal for this year. So super excited to learn a little bit more about Rental Mind. I know you and I have chatted a little bit about it, but so I kind of explain what the next level is for this and what Rental Mind is really designed to do, and how it's going to help revolutionize this side of the business.
Yeah. So Notion was awesome for me, and it's helped a lot of other people. But I talked to a lot of people who use Notion and who were trying to figure out their operations this way. And there's 2 or 3 themes that every one of them brought up. One is the learning curve to learn a tool like Notion is steep. And you need to learn it as like the owner, and then everyone who's going to use it. So maybe you have a team of 3 VAs, all of them need to learn it and get to a certain proficiency for how to use this tool. And Notion is so flexible and so customizable that you can build whatever template you want out of it, which is awesome. That's how we built our Hospitality HQ template. But it's really hard to learn it now. And so that was the first complaint is this is really hard to learn. My team's just not getting it. And because they don't understand how to use it, they're not using it. And number two was it's really easy to accidentally move something and break something because it's not locked down. It's very flexible. So they could literally click on their screen and drag something, and that might ruin a whole workflow because that's just how Notion works. It's very like fluid and flexible.
Yep.
And so like it's really easy to break and delete stuff. And I don't have any way of helping them like troubleshoot or any of that because I don't have access to their Notion accounts or whatever because it's a separate software tool. Um, and then the third thing was, hey, we've got a cleaner who cleans 2 of our properties, but we have 15 other properties. We would love to give her access to some of this information that's in, like you give your cleaners a whole binder worth of information. We'd love to give them this information digitally, but there's no way. Is there a way to give it to just them to see these 2 properties? And the answer is no. Like it's kind of an all or nothing game with a tool like Notion or Monday or something like that.
Yep.
So there's kind of this security and user permissions issue as well. So a mentor of mine challenged me. He's like, you've got so much understanding of how this works. You should consider building a software tool that does all of this, that's purposely built for our industry, that will help people use AI and organize their systems and their teams in their business so that they can grow quicker and not be the ones that the business is dependent on. And frankly, it makes your business more sellable as well. So if that becomes someone's goal and they want to sell their business, how cool would it be if you have all your systems and processes and your people documented and running out of one software tool? So I took that challenge head on and have spent, the last like 6 months now building out Rental Mine, which is a software that does all that we were just talking about. It's a knowledge management system. It uses AI to help get that information into the system. So you can literally like drag a whole folders where like in your Google Drive, you probably have a folder which is like my STR business.
Yep.
You can literally drop that whole folder into Rental Mine and it's going to use AI to find all the details that are important out of that folder and to put them in the proper place in Rental Mine in the structured format that AI is really good at searching through. Or a lot of people have SOP documents that are like 40 pages long. It's just SOP after SOP after SOP, which is awesome if you have that, but it's really hard to navigate. And so you can just pull that folder into Rental Mine, and it's going to create individual SOPs in there that are all searchable, that are all editable in the tool. So it's really just designed to get that stuff out of your head into a system and then be a really easy system for your team, your future VA that you hire, that they can just get on and it works how they think it would work. So they go to property details and they can just quickly see, here's the Wi-Fi information, here's the owner, here's the plumber that we have associated to this. Oh, and you can click on that plumber and you can see that that plumber also helps us out with 5 other properties, and you can see all of those properties.
Yep.
Or even easier, from their phone, they can just pull up and ask the AI, hey, I need a plumber at this beach house here because the guests say that the toilet is leaking. Have they helped us out with a toilet before? And what's their rates for that? And if you've captured some of that information and taught your team how to document that information in the system, the AI can just tell them all that information. And, it's generative, it's connected to Claude and things like that. So it can even help them troubleshoot things that you haven't documented, but they're just out there in the world. So one of my favorite things that I've seen happen is a guest reaches out and they say, hey, there's this error code that says ER3 on the hot tub. The hot tub's cold. What do we do? And then my VA gets that and they just ask the system, hey, what kind of hot tub do we have at this property? And it finds, oh, that's a Hot Springs Evolution from Costco or whatever.
Yep.
And they say, the guest is having this error. Do you know how can I tell them to troubleshoot that issue? And then it will look up that model on the internet. It will find that user manual and it will type up a response that they can literally copy and paste over to the guest to be able to answer that question. And then we're working to integrate with tools like HostBuddy as well, so that we can become the knowledge base for an AI messaging tool, And now the AI messaging tool can be that first tier of response for questions like this as well. But it's pulling upon the knowledge of everything that you've put into Rental Mine.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, right? I mean, I told you I switched over to Breezeway this year to get a better systems and processes, and it's been a clunky start, but it's been better, like way
Yeah.
better. And we're
Yep.
documenting things in Breezeway, and we're doing that. But it sounds like Rental Mine may even have some of those features that we use in a tool like that, to where you could pretty much have an all-in-one place.
Yeah, I'll say like the main, just to compare tool to tool, Breezeway has a lot more experience and is a lot more built out for like cleaners, checklists, and maintenance. And it is connected to the PMS as well. So it's able to pull in those booking details, which is awesome. Like we don't have that yet, but Breezeway isn't very good at like the knowledge management capture and the quick AI responses and stuff like that, which is what RentalMind has. So in a case like this, where someone's already using a tool for like I would say their task operations management, um, I would say use Breezeway for like that task management and use RentalMind for your knowledge management component. But we do like I do want this tool. There's no reason this can't be a comprehensive operations tool. So it is on our roadmap later this year or early next year to be able to also be connected to the PMSs and to be able to pull in those reservation details and to be able to attach tasks and checklists and photo uploads directly into your Rent-A-Mine tasks as well. So
I think it's awesome. I mean, it's definitely, everybody who's been in the space knows that, tech is a huge part of it. Having tech stacks. What's your tech stack? What all are you paying for? How many
mhm.
subscriptions do you have? And we've been able to add some strategically and drop some strategically over the past 4 years in this business. But I do think this has a huge value, especially for someone like you said. Once you get to 5 or more properties, it starts to
Yes,
really
yeah.
compound, right? This is not something that you're using for your one or two, or self-managing your own property, but this is for the people that are at 5 plus, that are starting to lose their mind. And like you said, everything that I in my business is here. My wife yells at me all the time. She's like, "Are you going to take anything from there and teach me stuff and show me stuff?" And
Yeah.
we've been working on that this year, but it's so much, right? I mean, we work really hard to get to a point, and it's a lot of information.
And that's honestly like the best place to start is when someone has three, four, or five properties because um, they probably haven't documented anything yet, but it's not an unsurmountable hurdle to go in and get that stuff documented. And it's way easier when you have a clear, like, fill in the blank template of all the things that you need to document. So that's a great place to start. And in that case, you're just building from scratch. But for a lot of people who have 10 to 100 properties, they've probably tried out different Google Sheets or different, Notion tools and templates. And in their case, yes, we try to make it easy for you to just be able to upload and get that information quickly into Rental Mind and searchable as well. All that takes like it takes a little upfront investment to build this stuff out, but the end result, the ROI of that investment is two really important things. One, like the time freedom to be able to grow and scale your business. Because when you get to the point where you are not the person who is onboarding the properties and messaging the guests, you're like your capacity to take on new clients is like 5 times or 10 times bigger. Because now I meet with the client and I'm like, I'm not afraid to meet with someone who's interested in working with us because I just have to make sure that they're a good fit and that they understand how our business works. And then I click a button which says onboard new property. And in our system in Rental Mine, it now creates 100 onboarding tasks, everything from getting the contract signed to getting Airbnb listing turned on to getting our direct booking site set up. There's 100 different tasks and there's SOPs associated with a bunch of those tasks. And there's somebody else on my team whose name is connected to owning that step in the process.
Yep.
And so it's pretty cool now. I just meet with someone and I say like, we would love to work with you. We think your property is awesome. We think it's a great fit. I'm gonna have my assistant send you an email with their contract, and that's kind of it. And then I go and I say, all right, let's start the onboarding process, and then it goes from there. So there's that like ability to scale quicker that comes with having this in place.
Yep.
And then my favorite thing, which is there's the freedom to live your life. So now you have the freedom to take off Wednesdays. I haven't had messages on my Airbnb or my Hospitable or I haven't had those messages turned on, those notifications turned on in over a year now. So I don't have to worry about when I go to bed at 11 o'clock at night if someone's going to be messaging me 30 minutes or 3 hours later. I just sleep better, like knowing that the systems and processes are in place to handle it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's goals, right? I know you and I talked about this a year ago. We put in some systems in place, running multiple businesses. And, we were just in St. Thomas last week with our Savvy team. And, I could see the agents that had their phones put away. They weren't managing properties. And then me and another agent that were there, we do have some properties, and we were the ones that had to step away a few times to handle a couple of things. Not that it was a lot, but those little moments add up, and buying back your time. I've read that book actually 3 times this year, because
One of my favorites.
it's a great book, and every time I read it, I pick up more and more of it, and it
Mhm.
motivates me more and more to do these changes that we're going to make as we go into Q3 and Q4 for next year, because I don't want to have those same hiccups next year, right? Last
Yeah.
year it was a family vacation with my parents that I was working a lot. This year I was working a lot less, and it was way better, but there's still room. There's still room to buy back more time, have the right systems and the right team in place.
Can I give you one? Do you mind if I share one more mindset, like advice for you specifically, Joe, and
Yep.
probably a lot of listeners that I think will help, especially for those people who are having a hard time giving up messaging because that's something that you're good at, and it's just kind of easier because all the information's in your head. Um, I When I gave that up, I had a hard time because I come from a customer experience background. Like my professional background before this was I worked at Expedia and I was in charge of designing our customer experience systems and processes for our customer support agents. And so like I felt like I could respond to guests better than anyone else that I could hire. And I probably could, and you probably can too. But the crazy thing that happened was when I stopped responding to guests, I would look at those messages and I would sometimes facepalm and be like, why did they say that? Like, oh, that's like a little wrong, or that's just not very like gracious, or they're not having enough empathy. Like, it's not going to be perfect. But then I would look at the reviews like 2 months later, and it was like 0.1% higher than when I was responding to, like, in Airbnb, you can look and you see your communication review
Yep.
score, or whatever. And with me, it was like 4.96. And with them, it was like 4.97. And I was like, what is happening? Like, how is that possible? And is two things. One, they were getting to it faster than me because I'm a busy entrepreneur who's doing a bunch of stuff. And sometimes it might take me a little time to respond to a guest.
Yep.
And number two, I was giving 6-star service to those guests when all they needed was 5-star service to be happy. And that let me just like take a step back and to stop. Like I don't really read our guest messages anymore that my team sends to the guests. So long as I'm tracking and I see that our communication score is still basically 5 stars and our cleaning score is 5 stars, like I'm happy.
Yeah.
And my owners are happy and our clients are happy and they're coming back. So
Yep.
it's a yeah, you just get a little perspective. When you stop messaging, you'll be shocked. Like your business is gonna do great still.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely 2027 goals, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
it's we're closing on another property for ourselves next week, and then we have our new build that we're doing, and we may add one or two co-hosting properties. We'll see. We'll see what the off season brings.
Yeah.
But we're at 12 now, and we're definitely going to be at 14. So essentially, I'll say 15 going into next year, and I definitely don't want to be the one that's handling all the messages. So
Yeah.
it's time. It's time. So it was time 2 years ago, as you would tell me, but it's time. So, so obviously, Rental Mind, kind of wrapping up a little bit is your biggest goal. That's what you're working towards right now. Where are
Yep.
you at in your co-hosting business? You were at 17 properties. How many properties are you currently at, and what do you have onboarding and during the Q3 and Q4 that you think?
Yeah, so that was we were at 17 properties a year ago. We're now closing in on 30 properties here in Washington State that we're managing. I've got a full-time head of operations who's local. She does a lot of the onboarding and she responds to a lot of our owners. And then she also manages our VAs now. So I transitioned her from being a part-time local host in one of our markets to our full-time head of operations last January, January this year, um, because I wanted to be able to be dedicated 100% on building the software and growing the software platform that will help thousands of STR operators. Yeah, where I'm at on that is we've just launched Rental Mine to publicly, and we are just really excited for people to be using it and for the ability to keep growing and adding more capability and more AI connectivity to that software. And my new goal is that this becomes something that every short-term operator puts in place once they commit to doing this professionally and not just as like a side hobby thing, but they decide this is what I want to do. Because we all have kind of that mental shift.
Yep.
Usually happens around 2 or 3 or 4 properties. Is that this is the one of the first and most important tools that they implement at that time, and they get it, and it helps them to scale their business with them. So that's my goal right now.
Well, that's awesome. I'm super excited for you. Super proud of you. You've really crushed it over the last few years. Hopefully, I can talk you into coming to PCB and speaking at my short-term rental conference that I'm having in January, and get you to leave the family for 24 to 48 hours. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. But any parting words for our guest out there?
Oh, yeah, I would say just decide what type of life you want to live as a co-host or short-term rental manager, and then design the way that you run your business around that. And that's something I started doing early on, something I know you've done as well. And when you get clear on how you want your life to look as a short-term rental operator, you will get there twice as fast.
Yep.
So whether that's leaving your W-2 job or it's being able to take off work completely, like turn off your phone 1 day a week or whatever it is. Once you get clear that that's what you want, that's it. You're gonna get there fastest. So just make that decision and get clear on it.
That's awesome. Great advice. And definitely make sure you guys check out Rental Mind. We're going to put the link down in the show notes here for you to log in, sign up. They set up an onboarding call to talk to you. What's the process for them if they want to implement this strategy?
Yeah, so we've tried to make it super easy. So it's you can start with a free trial and the tool will walk you through it. So as soon as you log in, the little AI assistant will pop out, almost like the joke about Clippy from back in the days.
Yep.
So AI assistant will pop out and it will welcome you to the tool and tell you, here's the first things that you need to do to learn how to use it. And every time you go to a new window, it's going to pop out and teach you how to use that window. So we try to make it really easy to just start using on your own.
Yep.
But if you feel like you want help and guided support doing that, we also offer guided onboarding services where you can meet with me or somebody on my team, and I can walk you through, here's how to use it. I'll help you get your files into it and get you started on it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
taking the time away from the family to come hang with me today. And, looking forward to seeing you sometime soon. And for everybody else, thank you guys for joining me for another great episode of the Short Term Rental Playmaker podcast. We'll see you next week where we're going to talk to Ryan Bakey about everything bonus depreciation going into 2026 Q3. Talk to you soon, guys.